Okay, something that I've been thinking about recently is that I feel like I've been consuming a lot of media about Trump as a president because he has been so polarizing. I never thought that I was a super political person. I mean, I really don't follow the news, I don't follow politics. I feel like I only really follow things that really feel like they've affected me personally, which is like being a woman in tech and being somebody that's historically underrepresented group in tech, just like women in general. And I think that's something that I've cared a lot about. So that's why I wanted to teach at a historically black college university and teach younger women so that they are empowered to then become a software engineer if that's what they want to be, just because it's really hard to break into a space where you feel like you don't even belong. It got me thinking about how Trump has done all of these things to just undo a lot of like quote unquote progress that people have made, specifically with banning transgender people from participating in women's sports. I think just that problem in general is a really tough problem to solve, and I'm glad that I'm not the one that has to think about it, because I see truly both sides, that on one hand you want to include them and you want them to be able to feel like there's a place for them to play sports. But on the other hand, there's a lot of like elite athletes that I would say it is true that it's tough when your livelihood is playing this sport and then you have to compete against somebody that maybe is biologically different, and therefore your quote unquote like chances are ruined because you're competing against this thing that is like unfair. And I understand that. Like, I understand that is an issue, but I think I am still on the side of allowing transgender women to play in women's sports because it's centered around this whole idea of like diversity, equity, and inclusion. A lot of these transgender women just want to be able to live their life in the body that they have the free will to do whatever they want with their body and how they choose to identify. And so I think if we were to not allow them to play, it's just setting this entire like example of like they are one of them and not one of us. And I just think that's the lesser of the two evil. Like, I'd rather be inclusive than choose to be exclusive and try to make it work for everyone. And one side of that argument is, why would you ruin the quote unquote integrity of this like profession or this field, or ruin women's sports by trying to accommodate the 1%? And while I see that reasoning, I think that choosing to accommodate like human beings and people and like learning to figure out a way to allow them belong is just, I don't know, like a better moral value than the other. And it is true. It's like, according to like the research and the details, like NCAA, whatever, quotes out only like 1% or whatever, even probably less than 1% of women identify as transgender. Like, it's just, in my opinion, like the amount of women that are affected because they like lose or whatever is going to be so far few in between because of the few people that identify that way. And I think, to me, it's just kind of like life's unfair. So if someone unfortunately has to compete with somebody that is of a different build or biologically built differently, like, and they lose the game, lose the match, like, that's affecting one person's life instead of this whole systemic, like, we want this inequality to happen. I know what I'm saying doesn't make sense. I think I'm also trying to be very careful with my words because I know that like this is kind of a touchy subject and I don't want to offend anyone in any way, which I understand. Like, some people are like, oh, everyone has to be PC now, politically correct, blah, 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 blah. But all I'm trying to say is that, like, imagine, like, even if you look at sports right now, like how many Asian people play at an elite level of sports in basketball or soccer or whatever. Like, there's nobody, at least in the States, because biologically, genetically, like, Asian people do not have the same build as European, Western, whatever descent, or African Americans or African descent, and I'm trying to like not be racist, but like, then is it fair to segregate people based on ethnicity so that everyone gets a fair chance to play? Like, no, like, right? Even though race is more or less more discrete and distinct than it is a continuous scale, like maybe gender, I think the same argument applies, where it's like, that's just life. If you are not as tall because you're Asian, or not as strong because you are biologically and genetically built differently, that doesn't mean that there should be like a separate group of division that's like, there's Asian sports and then like this ethnicity sports or this whatever sports. Like, that's just not how life works. It's just unfair, you know? And same thing with people that identify as transgender and have chosen to change their bodies but still identify as women. Like, you can't just say like they will all play in this one category. There's just so few of them. You can't even do that. But also, like, the amount of people that it would affect, it's just so little because there's so few people that identify as transgender. And it's more about the fact that we want people from different backgrounds to have the opportunity to play in competitive sports. And I think a lot of it comes down to like privilege. Like, I think I acknowledge that a lot of like my life today and where I've ended up today, it has come from privilege more than anything else, more than my hard work, more than anything else that I could have controlled. Literally, the thing that got me the farthest is the thing that I literally had no control over, which was being born in the States, being born with money, being born in a family where I had two loving parents that wanted to support me fully. Like, there's so much more to privilege than just money and resources and opportunity and being where you are, but just in literally the household that you grow up in. And I think with a lot of historically underrepresented groups, with just a lot of groups where they're not as accepted societally or in society or in the public, like especially transgender people, they're already battling against so many things that are disadvantaging them, that I think it's important to try to include people that come from different backgrounds. And that's the whole basis of DEI. There's already been so much research done saying that there's so much value in DEI. And I think I understand that that comes from different disciplines than sports. Like, I understand why it's a tougher scenario to navigate when it comes to sports. And that's why I'm like, there truly is no solution, because there are trade-offs to including, and there are trade-offs to completely banning them. But I think I just never want to be somebody that excludes people. Like, I just want everyone to be happy, and I want everyone to live the life that they want to have, because I think everyone has that own agency to live their life, and it just sucks when things limit people. And I know I'm not that informed with everything that's going on, but I think it's tough when it's like your funding will be taken away, even in K through 12 schooling, if you choose to allow transgender people to play in women's sports. And I just think it's so important to give everyone an equal opportunity and chance to live the life that they want, and to compete at the level that they want, and to get the job that they want. And that's what equity is. It's just giving everyone that opportunity, even if they all started from a different starting line. I don't know. I'm just like, I just don't want anyone to be excluded, and I'd rather just try to make it work for everyone, while I understand that there is, you know, two sides to every coin, two sides to every story. Like, I know that people are going to disagree. I just wish that, like, there was less of a this is them and this is my group, and we could all just kind of coexist. But that's why people can choose to like be surrounded by people that share the same values as them. But then it's tough when people have opposing opinions, and it's just, I also think nothing is black and white, and I think everything is kind of gray. And I think that's kind of like the basis of all of my quote unquote values. Is it's just hard. But then to just blatantly like exclude people, or like clearly draw a line, I think that's, I don't know what I'm saying. Basically, I don't know how to fix any of these problems, but I'm never really caring about them unless they directly affect me. And these are just some thoughts I have. Oh my god, I'm done talking. I can't do this. Okay, bye. Okay, as you can tell, talking about political stuff makes me feel so uncomfortable because I feel like I'm so ignorant and unknowledgeable of all these things. At the end of the day, I think what my values are is just I want everyone to be able to live the life that they want to live. And that's why I'm so against things that are like, you cannot do this. And this is wrong for whatever reason. Because who is it for you to decide if it's right or wrong? Because I think everyone should just live their life how they want to and just be happy and not be restricted. Obviously, there are laws where you can't kill people and do all these, like, morally, obviously bad things, but I think otherwise, everything else is so great. If you want to change your body, if you want to decide that you're this way, if you want to do this, blah, 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 like, just fucking do it if that's what's going to make you happy, you know? That will probably be the first and last time I ever talk about politics, period.